Hello all, Rick here with a video looking at the 3 Dyson superstructures portrayed in Star Trek to look at what makes them unique and why I think none are related. The Dyson Sphere was first encountered in 2294 by the USS Jenolan. However, that vessel crashed on its exterior surface and never reported the find. It was rediscovered in 2369 by the USS Enterprise D, and Starfleet has been keeping tabs on it ever since, studying the grand construction. In canon, we have 2 ships that were immediately sent to investigate it more thoroughly, and by 2380 there were still science vessels travelling to and from it, such as the USS Vancouver. Suffice to say, it's nice to see that this is not one of those discoveries that Star Trek forgets about a week later. The advanced technology that is available to be studied includes uncovering the construction methodology and potentially how the neutronium was alloyed with carbon to create its superstructure, neutronium being a material still beyond Starfleet capabilities, although known. The Dyson Sphere was 2 million kilometres in diameter, which gave it a smaller orbit than that of our Earth, which sits at a radius of 149.6 million kilometres, 93 million miles, or 1 astronomical unit. The sphere would spin at a consistent rate, creating centrifugal gravity across the inside surface of the sphere, although let's face it, a structure that large is going to create its own gravitational pull too, although from what I read up on, it would not actually be enough by itself to hold an atmosphere. Spinning the sphere, however, also generates a problem, as only the area perpendicular to the sphere's rotational axis would support gravity. The internal north and south would suffer from less and less pull until it was negligible. Honestly, for this reason alone, a Dyson ring makes far more sense and is a better use of resources and energy. Why create a structure that is of this scale, then expend so much more energy than necessary, making it habitable? This must have been mitigated on the Dyson Sphere with artificial gravity generators, similar to those used on most starships for ease of film for habitational norms. The Dyson Sphere orbited a G-class star. However, over its lifespan, that star had become unstable and was throwing out massive amounts of radiation, which was rendering the interior surface uninhabitable. So by the time it was encountered, it was long since abandoned, its occupant's fate a mystery. Which, I suppose, highlights another issue with the sphere over a ring. If the star in the middle of the ring perishes, explodes, or other such issue, there's no way to remove it, whereas a ring can, well, be slipped off its star. This is of course assuming that a replacement star could be found or the structure moved over a replacement, but there did exist powers in the Star Trek galaxy for whom such a feat was possible. The Takon Empire springs firstly to mind. The advantage of the sphere, however, was that it could completely absorb the entire energy output from its host star, as every surface was facing it. A ring would still leave much untapped potential. The interior surface of the sphere was over 250 million times that of the surface of the Earth, meaning that you could easily have room in there for, well, pretty much the entire quadrant's inhabitants. Which raises another question. Was this sphere entirely inhabited? We can see extensive cities and development around its surface, but also vast areas of ocean and wilderness, so it's probable that much of it was uninhabited, but to hold so many people? It could conceivably be an ark. In fact, that might be the only reason to make an entire sphere instead of an easier structure. The sphere cut off all signals from inside and out, was made of neutronium alloys, and itself was basically undetectable save for the gravitational well it caused by existing. In the vastness of space, even its colossal size is insignificant enough to be lost, and it smothers the star within so completely that finding it was pure happenstance. Holy, I might be onto something. In contrast, we have the Corozonian Dyson ring that was created around 6 million years ago. Its original builders long since departed as evolution took them beyond corporeal forms. This ring, however, was not of the same grand scale, and although we don't have exact details, its building structures were visible from above. This ring since saw inhabitation by a different species, the Corazonian, and its operating artificial intelligence, named Vexilon, was only too happy to preserve a new civilization upon its surface. I wonder if it has a twin out there called Vax. This computer system had full control over the extensive terraforming systems of the ring, from atmosphere to its very biome, which would have been needed considering the smaller scale would have definitely required more attention to maintain a natural M-class life support system. Additionally, it's unclear if the star in the middle of the ring too is artificial, considering its tiny scale. So all in all, this seems different from the construction purpose behind the sphere. There, however, did exist another series of Dyson rings encountered in 2390 by the USS Discovery, which were created by a species designated 10C and, like the Dyson sphere, was long since abandoned. These were very different in look to the Corazonia ring and constructed of a silicon elanium alloy. Elanium was a material that convected and stored energy sources very well, although physical impact still damaged it. With the differences in all three of these structures, it seems that they may have all been made by differing species, or at least at varying times, which is a fantastic thing because it means that there are even more unknown, incomprehensibly powerful aliens out there in Star Trek still to uncover. Of course, it would be remiss of me not to mention that in Star Trek Online, the Dyson spheres play a pivotal role and we uncover who made them. It was the Solanae, those clicker creatures from Schisms, but that is non-canonical to the shows, although personally, I like this time. Thanks for watching this investigation of the Dyson structures. What do you think? The ring seems to be far more stable and a practical solution, comparatively if creating such structures were ever practical, for habitat. So the only reason I can think of the sphere might be for its other properties, complete coverage and subtlety. What do you think? I've been Rick. Thanks again, and goodbye.